All right. So, as I'm sure most of you are already aware, the crypto markets aren't looking too hot. This watch list is looking bloody. We have Bitcoin down 7%, Ether down 10%, Render down 15%, and Bitcoin miners, I mean, this price action you're seeing in Riot and Mara isn't even reflecting this weekend of downside. So I'm going to be straight up. Monday is probably going to be awful for Bitcoin mining stocks. What's going on? Why are the crypto markets face planning? In this video, I'm going to give you my 2 cents on the matter and, give you guys hopefully something to get maybe not necessarily excited about, but, a little silver lining, a little light at the end of the tunnel as far as maybe the latter half of the month is concerned going into early May. Okay, so going to be taking a look at Bitcoin, going to be taking a look at Render token, and going to be taking a look at Riot Platforms on the charts today. The big three when it comes to just our interests over Waves Capital. If you guys are interested in other miners or other tokens, that's great, to each their own, but these are the three that I'm choosing to make a video about. So we're going to take a look at the primary culprit that I believe is responsible for the downside that we've seen, not only in the crypto markets, are not what we're seeing in the crypto markets right now, but what we saw begin in the equity markets last week when this news was released on Wednesday. I believe that was April 10th, this news was released. And then we're going to be taking a look at the catalyst that I believe will ultimately be pulling the crypto markets out of the hole that they've just fallen into. And that is the Bitcoin halving that, as of now, is less than a week away. It's really getting close. So that's the video, you guys. Going to try to keep this one short and sweet for you. My name's Royce Jacob. Welcome back to Waves Capital. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think we keep falling, or do you kind of fall in line with some of the theses that we're going to get into in this video? Obviously, wait till the end to comment. Okay. So Bitcoin, again, let's just get the fundamentals out of the way first. It's always important to base any thesis in the fundamentals, and then the technicals can be that the cherry on top of your existing thesis. Okay, so why are the crypto markets tanking? This is what I believe to be the primary culprit once again. CPI data, the March CPI report. Over Waves Capital for the past week, we have been talking about how we expected this report to come in hotter than expected, which it did. And that was bad news for the markets. Okay, the markets sold off significantly, as you can see here, in the wake of this report, because this is objectively bad news. When CPI data is hot, it tells the Federal Reserve, who is responsible for altering interest rates in order to achieve a 2% inflation rate, which obviously 3.5% is far from that. The Fed wants inflation year over year at 2%. We're still well above that, and we're actually heading in the wrong direction. When we get these hot CPI reports, that tells the Fed that, they can't cut rates yet. And that is not good news for the markets. If there's one thing we've learned over the past couple of years, it's the fact that the markets, the financial markets, stock market, crypto market, any asset that's not the dollar or treasuries thrives in a low interest rate environment. And right now, interest rates are still high. The markets have been doing pretty damn well over the past year, but that's because they've been pricing in the futures of it. They've been pricing in the idea that the Fed will be cutting rates starting this year. 3 rate cuts were priced in up until earlier this week when we got the CPI report. And now it's not looking too good, okay? The Fed is going to need a lot more good news, which right now the trend is not our friend. It's not looking like good news might even be coming this year. And that's very, very bad news for the markets. Sum this up. High CPI report, hot inflation data equals an unhappy Fed, which equals a higher unlikelihood of interest rate cuts, which equals unhappy markets, okay? So bad news for the markets. This obviously took a major toll, not only once again on the crypto markets, but on the equity markets as well. And it's very, very, very unlikely that this is shaken off until we get the April CPI report, in like a month come May. So very, very bad news for the markets. This did, over a Waves cap, this really threw a curveball into what we had going on, but we adapted. We had some hedges on deck that really helped us out. And, you move on. If you get thrown a curveball, you got to deal with it, okay? Smooth seas never made for skilled sailors. You fail fast, and you move forward, you alter your plans, and that's exactly what we did over at Waves Capital. Okay, so hot CPI reports. On top of that, I just want to reference what I believe will be a very, very negative catalyst for the stock markets, because ultimately, you guys, this isn't just about Bitcoin. This is about the macroeconomic backdrop, because ultimately what's going on in the stock markets will have some effect on Bitcoin. Just overall investor sentiment will bleed over from the equity markets into the crypto markets. And of course, this will have take a toll on stocks, Bitcoin mining stocks, specifically for the purposes of this video, Riot Platforms, Marathon Digital, whatever Bitcoin miner you're working with. What is so far a very ugly earnings season, I think will get uglier. And that's bad news for crypto stocks, if I'm being completely honest. So JP Morgan Chase, as far as the short term is concerned, again, we'll go over the silver lining. But JP Morgan released their earnings report. They kicked off earnings season. Big banks typically kick off large to mega cap earnings season. JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon, kind of kings of finance, fell 6% following their earnings report. That's a massive drop for a bank stock, okay? For a legacy stock like JP Morgan. That's very, very bad news, and that's a bad, I would say, premonition for what could come, what could be on the horizon when it comes to more large to mega cap earnings reports, okay? Bad news, again, this will almost inevitably have a very negative ripple effect on the markets in the shorter term. Obviously, this is going to become a stock picker's market as we move through earnings season. There will be good earnings. There will be bad earnings. You just got to pick out the gems. You got to find the diamonds in the rough. Obviously, that's what we're doing our best to do. I think we have some great plays on deck at Waves Cap. But again, the macro environment has just shifted significantly in this past week. Okay, we went from pretty bullish to objectively bearish. Okay, things are about to get pretty bearish. And again, I don't see this changing, especially with poor earnings. What I expect to be mostly poor earnings, I'll say mostly poor earnings, and the CPI report. I don't see this trend shifting for a month. And that's only in the case that we get a promising April CPI report or a cooler than expected CPI report in April. Okay. That said, there will once again always be diamonds in the rough. I do think that as far as crypto is concerned, there is the Bitcoin halving coming up, which is objectively good news for Bitcoin supply and demand economics. I can't say it's objectively good news for price. Who knows how much of this has already been priced in? Maybe we're selling off. This is clearly a sell-off into the halving kind of just technicals were broken. We'll get into that after. But Bitcoin halving, good. Before we move on to the Bitcoin halving as well and dive into the charts, you guys, if you want these newsletters that I just read over, these are my daily trade alerts. You get these, and you get a price targets newsletter as well, where I go over pretty much all three of the crypto names we're covering every single day. So I know I only make a video on these names once every couple of weeks now. Slow down, chilling out. But that's also because I spend the far majority of my time every day doing due diligence and writing these newsletters, okay? If you do want to join Waves Capital, if you want to know exactly how I'm trading on a day-to-day basis, along with, getting each one of these puppies in your email inbox every single morning, then that's the first link in the description of this video. If you guys are already members, please share your experience in the comments down below. Testimonials help a lot. And, if you're thinking about signing up, then welcome to the winning team in advance. If you want a free trial, the reason I do free trials is because I'm so confident in the product I provide. But if you just want to sign up, if you just want to join Waves Cap, it's $15 a month or $40 for every 3 months. It's obviously completely up to you. But once again, if you do choose to join, then we look forward to having you. Welcome to the winning team. Bitcoin halving, 6 days, 38 minutes away. Obviously, as I record this video, it's going to be different when you guys watch this. But 6 days away, less than a week away, we're getting very, very close. I know that if you watch my previous videos, I expected us to rally into the halving. Clearly, was wrong about that. I'm a trader, not a fortune teller, okay? I want to make it very clear, and I like saying that every time I get the opportunity. If I'm wrong, I'm a trader, not a fortune teller. That's the reality of it, you guys. I don't have a crystal ball, but been doing this for 10 years, and I do my best to pool together all the data available to me to establish the most rational, or what I believe to be the most rational conclusion, and I share that with you guys. Am I going to be wrong? Yeah. trading, it's like a 70-30, 60-40 sometimes game. You do your best to weigh the odds in your favor. Sometimes 30% of the time, 40% of the time doesn't go your way. But the profits are made on the margins, right? And I'm just going to stop that there. That's just a little tangent that I felt was important to share. Regardless, Bitcoin halving, supply of Bitcoin is going to be cut in half from 6.2 BTC per block. This is the reward to miners, of course, to 3.125 Bitcoin per block. Supply and demand 101. If demand stays consistent, which I don't, it's difficult to imagine demand lowers. This is a little spook. This is a little scare. A little pre-halving. This may be a bear trap, to be honest. We'll see what pans out over the next couple of days. But okay, you guys, it's difficult for me to imagine that demand really slows down. Again, this is I'm assuming this is a lot of quants and funds that are kind of manipulating the price a little bit now prior to the halving. Just because I'll say right now, this line of support was broken. We broke below this line of support. We were hugging it. It's always a bad sign when you see like an asset hugging either a line of resistance or a line of support. Any trend line, if they're hugging it like this, that's usually a negative sign. Okay, so broke to the downside. We do have some levels of resistance here, but just to close out my thoughts generally on the halving, it's going to be bullish. Again, I thought we may have been priced into the halving and sold off following the halving, but that was if we reach my target of 85K. That didn't happen. What I now believe will happen is, we're in correction mode. I can't imagine we fall much lower. I think 60K is about as low as we would fall prior to the halving. And then, slowly through the halving, rally in the weeks that follow the halving into May. Okay, that's just my general thesis. And that is because, again, BlackRock, we got the Bitcoin ETF, we have the halving, we have BlackRock buying Bitcoin. I'm sure you guys have seen all the cliche headlines that have been all over the crypto media outlets over the past month. There's a lot of objectively positive fundamentals that are falling in favor of Bitcoin right now. And that's why I do think that this sell-off is purely technical. I think that this is, it's kind of a bear trap going into the halving. And again, I do think that after the halving, maybe sideways, slightly lower into the halving, into the 20th. Because again, I think the equity markets are probably going to look really, really ugly this week. I do think that 85,000 will come at some point in the month of May. I'm not going to throw a date on it, but at some point in May, I do think we'll see $85,000 per BTC. From there, well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Let's move on to Riot Platforms, and then we'll close it out with Render. Okay, Riot Platforms, poor Riot, breaking hearts, blasting farts. That's a baby t-shirt that my wife made a while ago, but I feel it's pretty appropriate. Breaking hearts, blasting farts. Riot is not looking good at all. Riot looks awful. Riot is super disappointing, to be completely honest. And I'm sure many of you feel the same. But is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Hopefully. I can't say with any sense of significant confidence that Riot will make a comeback in the month ahead. But given the thesis that I just shared on Bitcoin, again, sideways, slightly lower into the halving. If Bitcoin doesn't pop by Monday, Riot is probably going to fall, 10, 15%. So is Mara. But from there, I do think that after the halving, in the case that Bitcoin does rally into the month of May, as I suspect, I do think that Riot could come up from like 1140. I do think that this gap is filled. This is going to be my first target right here, this red line around 1140. Just close the top end of this gap that we set on April 1st to about 1140. And then I do think that we come up to, the 1250 region in what I believe will ultimately result as an inverse head and shoulders pattern. Okay. Shoulder, it's going to come down the head, cup up here, go sideways around the 12 to 1250 region, bounce around in this range for a little bit, probably into their earnings. And then I do think, and I've been saying this in the newsletter a lot, that I do think the Bitcoin halving, which has created so much negative fear, uncertainty, and doubt around Bitcoin miners due to obviously, their revenue being cut in half. Not necessarily their revenue, the amount of Bitcoin they're being rewarded cut in half, obviously has created a lot of negative pressure, as we've seen over the past month or so, over the past month and a half now, in Bitcoin miners. Okay, people are definitely losing faith. This is true despair when it comes to investors and Bitcoin miners. And I see that in the comments and some of the messages I'm receiving. But just for full transparency, I have, and again, if you're a member of Waves Capital, you can attest to this. I just doubled the dollar amount that I invested in Riot call options on Friday, which will pan out probably as a stupid move, or not. I don't think it'll pan out as a stupid move. I'll be transparent. I bought $15 June. What is it? I can't remember the date. June 21st. Might be June 21st. June something. June 20th or something. Riot call options. Okay. So that is, once again, falling in line with the thesis that I have here, that Riot rallies into the month of May. And I think the same for most Bitcoin miners. Again, we've had so much uncertainty and so much doubt fed into the Riot investor population going into the halving that we're getting really oversold. As of right now, Riot is incredibly oversold as far as 4-hour RSI is concerned, where my cursor is hovering here. Again, maybe we fall lower, but that's about as low as I think we'll be going, personally speaking. Regardless, I do think Riot does come up, travel sideways into their earnings report on May 8th, which is scheduled for May 8th. Keep in mind, Riot, it's usually around that date. It's rare that they actually announce their earnings on the expected date, but May 8th is when their earnings are scheduled for. I think we rally sideways through from like 1150, 1250 region, go sideways into their earnings report. Hopefully that earnings report catalyzes a move up to my ultimate kind of medium-term target of $17, because this is a significant trend line used for Riot. Really over the past almost a year now, this trend line has been in play, this line of resistance here. But it's also been in play for the past few months, this nice symmetrical triangle pattern. I do think that we do test this at some point in the month of May, June at the latest. And keep in mind, you guys, I could always be wrong. Again, trader, not a fortune teller, but know that my money is where my mouth is, okay? Let's close this out with Render. Render looking straight up bad. Okay, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. Render is looking bad. This is tough. But there is the partial silver lining of the fact, that Render has yet to close a daily candle below this line of support here, this purple line right here, which is the line of support, I would say, on this longer term ascending channel. Okay, so that's good. What's not good is, where is this guy right here? I'll draw some arcs. This isn't good, because it looks to me like Render could potentially be printing a head and shoulders pattern. Big head, little old shoulders. Okay, terrible proportions, very unattractive proportions here. Render, not looking good. Okay, big old head, little shoulders. I'll just give you guys the good news first. If we can definitely break above $10, I would say if we can break above 950, we can break back above 950. That's good news. And that, in my mind, would eliminate the potential of this head and shoulders pattern. But as long as we're floating below 850, if we travel sideways below 850 for the next week, then it's very, very possible that we ultimately play out a head and shoulders pattern to, I'll call this the base right here. Okay. This is what I believe would be the base for Render's head and shoulders pattern. And this is, at about 470, 480. So will this happen? It's very, very possible, especially given everything we just discussed. Okay. Very, very objectively bearish macroeconomic backdrop going on right now. But, there will always be diamonds in the rough. I hope that Render will be that diamond in the rough, because I do believe in this project more than any others. This is by far my largest cryptocurrency holding. Many of you know that. So I hope the best for it. Again, it would be foolish and irresponsible of me to act bullish. I'm not even bullish on the crypto markets right now. Okay, I'm hopeful. I'm not bullish. Okay, I can't say I have confidence in the idea that the crypto markets will go up in the next week. But after the halving, sideways, slightly lower into the halving, coast through the halving, and then up into May. That's just my general thesis. But please understand that is still optimistic thinking. That is speculative. and, just stay on your toes, you guys. So that's the video. Sorry, it wasn't a very fun video, but that's just the nature of the market sometimes. That is the nature of the beast. Once again, there are always gems out there. There are always diamonds in the rough to be found, and I do think we have some of those in the Waves Cap portfolio. And I'm really excited because one of them announces earnings in about 10 days. So if you know, you know. If not, join Waves Cap. I look forward to seeing you guys there. And let me know in the comments what you think about just this sell-off. What do you think about the current landscape in crypto right now? Do you think we rally after the halving? Do you think we fall to? Do you think Bitcoin falls to 50, 60K? Let me know, and I look forward to talking to you guys in the comments. Until next time, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace.